why Premier Scott Moe says counter-tariff efforts should stay focused on maintaining a current deal. A judge tosses out a court application from the U of R Students' Union. And learning the ropes of sailing with the force of a strong Saskatchewan wind.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. It's another new addition to a long list of U.S. tariffs after President Donald Trump signed an executive order last night for higher tariffs on any Canadian exports not covered by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. This as Saskatchewan's premier calls for calm, saying the priority should be on maintaining that deal, not new retaliation. Wayne Mantika reports.
Premier Scott Moe says 95% of Saskatchewan exports will remain tariff-free through the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. They will escape U.S. President Donald Trump's increased 35% tariff on Canadian goods.
Credit to Dominic LeBlanc for his efforts in Washington, D.C. At least for now, it appears that the USMCA exemptions will still remain in place.
Potash is a major Saskatchewan export exempt from tariffs. In a written statement, Mosaic said Canadian potash is KUSMA compliant and remains tariff-free. The August 1st tariff rate increase does not impact potash. Saskatchewan steel and forestry are not as fortunate.
And we need to continue to negotiate and work through those particular trade and tariff challenges in those industries. But we cannot underestimate or in any way undervalue the impact of having the USMCA agreement continuing to be in place.
The Premier is encouraging the federal government to resist the temptation of imposing counter tariffs.
The reason we will be urging for a reduction of counter tariffs is one is they hurt Saskatchewan and Canadians, our families and our businesses and our places of work. In the same way that Donald Trump's tariffs are pushing up the cost of doing business in the U.S.
Saskatchewan's NDP opposition is calling for a tougher stance.
But we're not going to do it with a gun to our head. We're not going to do it in a situation where over 8 months we are threatened time and time again, where we're disrespected. Let's stop acting like we're not holding any cards here.
Premier Scott Moe believes Saskatchewan exports covered under the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement may have gained a competitive advantage over goods from other nations not afforded the same tariff protection. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
The union representing workers at Regina's steel mill is welcoming a new era under the ownership of U.S.-based Atlas Holdings. The United Steelworkers say the investment by Atlas into the newly formed Orion Steel gives its members security and long-term opportunities to grow the business. Former Evraz facilities in Canada, including the Regina mill, will operate as Interpro Pipe and Steel. USW represents approximately 1,000 workers in steel facilities across Alberta and Saskatchewan. A Saskatchewan teenager has died in what RCMP believe was a rollover west of the village of Morin, Alberta. Early this afternoon, Three Hills RCMP responded to a call for an abandoned vehicle on Highway 27 at Range Road 213. When they arrived, they found one person dead, ejected from a sedan. RCMP say the victim is a 17-year-old boy from Saskatchewan. No other vehicles were involved in the Thursday crash. It's a difficult day in Ogam, where a young boy died after colliding with a vehicle while riding a bike. According to Coronac RCMP, it happened yesterday evening at the intersection of Bradley Street and Saskatchewan Avenue in the town of Ogam. Police say a vehicle collided with a bike being ridden by a boy under the age of 10. His family has been notified. The driver of the vehicle remained on scene while the crash remains under investigation. Saskatchewan RCMP are renewing a call for answers in a historical missing persons case. 50 years ago tomorrow at around 3 a.m. on August 2nd, 1975, then 16-year-old Irene Sherban was last seen outside her family's home in Hudson Bay after hosting a party that night. Today, Sherban would be 66 years old. Her whereabouts are still not known, and police believe her disappearance is suspicious. Sherban's family continues to seek answers about what happened and is calling on anyone with information to come forward to give her family closure. Center is in a remote location today. We find Sabine Ahmed down at the Queen City X without me. You didn't even ask, first off. That's pretty rude. I even have a ride bracelet.
Say, I'm pretty sure you assigned this job. You assigned this job to me, Cole.
I did.
I'm going to be honest, it's a bit spicy out here, and I'm not talking about the flamin' hot Cheetos Mexican street corn that's being served out here. The temperatures are very warm, Cole, and it's expected to continue this way as we head into the weekend. There are some heat warnings, more in central Saskatchewan, not so much in southern Saskatchewan, but the temperatures have been feeling like in the 30s for much of the day today. As we take a look at the radar satellite, you can see those heat warnings slowly creeping down further into central southern Saskatchewan. And again, with these very warm temperatures and a high humidity index, there's also the possibility of a risk of thunderstorm just with the unstable atmosphere that develops with the moist air. Now, that is something we'll keep an eye on, and I'll talk more about in your forecast. But in terms of temperatures today, Regina warmed up to about 29 degrees. We're still sitting in 30-degree territory for many parts, and that's going to continue as we head into this weekend. But again, I'll have all the details coming up in your full forecast. Cole?
All right. Thanks, Sabine. Well, a judge has dismissed an injunction application from the University of Regina Students' Union that was filed after the university halted its fee collection agreement back in the spring. Let's bring in Donovan Mace with more details. Donovan, what can you tell us?
December of last year, when URSU proposed to cut funding for some university nonprofits, including UR Pride and the Women's Center. Then in April, the university terminated a collective agreement and withheld student fees earmarked for union operations, citing concerns with URSU's 2024 audited financial statements, prompting what became this lawsuit from the union. Now, according to a statement from the university, the judge dismissing the union's injunction application based on the risk URSU would not properly allocate student funds if the university were ordered to transfer the withheld student fees from the union as a lump sum payment, adding compelling the university to continue to collect fees from students on URSU's behalf in the present circumstances would be irresponsible and unfair to students. Meanwhile, university leadership says it has been attempting to work with URSU for over a year on a sustainable path forward, but claims the union has been unwilling to take the recommended steps to address its financial unsustainability. Now, in response, URSU says it is naturally disappointed with the outcome, but respects the court's reasoning and appreciates the clarity it has provided regarding the payment protocol, adding they are focused on working collaboratively with the university to find a long-term sustainable solution. Now, the termination of the fee collection is set for the end of August, just prior to the beginning of this fall's semester, with university leadership saying they are committed to keeping core student services in place, while the union adds it will not pursue further litigation and is hopeful dialogue and cooperation may move forward in the best interest of students. Cole.
All right, thanks for this, Donovan. That's Donovan Mace reporting live in our newsroom for us tonight. That's a story we'll be keeping an eye on as fall classes resume in about a month. Well, more people from northern Saskatchewan remain away from home tonight, forced to evacuate as flames and smoke continue to pose threats to their communities. As Jasmine Pelche reports, firefighting efforts aren't likely to get a helping hand anytime soon weather-wise.
More communities in northern Saskatchewan have been forced to evacuate due to wildfire and wildfire smoke. On Thursday, Clearwater River Dene First Nation called for an evacuation due to the nearby park wildfire. The nation shared in a Facebook post that buses carrying evacuees are headed to Bonnyville, Alberta. Environment Canada says the forecast in the area doesn't look promising.
We do see a number of fires burning in northern Saskatchewan and north central Saskatchewan. Just the way our setup is, it looks like that's going to be continuing for the next little while. And of course, with hot and dry weather, the risk of more smoke from those fires.
Heat and air quality advisories are in effect for northern Saskatchewan. On Wednesday, administration for the village of Pine House shared in a Facebook post that the village would evacuate everyone except essential workers. Pine House is under threat from the Muskeg fire and the Knee fire. As of 3 p.m. Friday, there are 71 active wildfires in the province, with 17 uncontained. The SPSA told CTV that as of Friday afternoon, there are approximately 3,500 people evacuated from Saskatchewan communities. Another update from Friday afternoon says the SPSA is currently responding to 10 active evacuations. The Red Cross announced that through the province, it will be providing additional financial aid to eligible households from evacuated communities. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
And as we just heard, firefighting efforts are far from over, with people from all over the province stepping up to help keep flames at bay in the north. As Jacob Carr reports, volunteer firefighters from several First Nations were shown some appreciation today.
Firefighters from several First Nations, including Okanese and Star Blanket, gathering in Pipikasis, the First Nation hosting an honoring ceremony for their efforts in fighting wildfires in the northern part of the province. The chief of Okanese First Nation, Richard Stonechild, says it was important for the firefighters to know that their work is appreciated.
You know, they drop everything that they're doing and just, you know, come to the scene, you know, wherever they're needed, and work, you know, sometimes it's 24 hours that they're out there.
Thank you, bro.
One individual recognized was Jim Dieter. The Okanese headman was responsible for saving multiple lives when a house on the First Nation caught fire.
I don't want to really get any recognition for what I did, but I know if anyone else was in that spot, you know, you'd all do the same thing. You know, we're all pretty much a big family. You know, we all work together. We all come together. Times of need for our communities.
So he rushed in there, you know, kicked the door in. The occupants were sleeping. They had no idea that the home was on fire, and he got them out of there safely. And you know, it was literally minutes that after the house went down. So it was just unbelievable.
Whether it's acts of heroism in the south or the north of the province, it did not go unheralded. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
A Saskatchewan-based virtual healthcare platform and provider is picking up steam in its vision to open more healthcare access options for people in rural and remote areas. John Flatters has more on the virtual health hub and their next move.
Healthcare leaders, members of the provincial and federal government, as well as First Nation leadership, gathered at the Virtual Health Hub in Saskatoon to celebrate a major milestone.
Today, we are announcing that Virtual Health Hub is joining Can Health Network in launching new commercialization projects with two leading Canadian technology companies.
The partnership with Can Health Network will allow improved access, equity, and health outcomes for Northern and Indigenous populations through technology and collaboration. Part of that partnership is the addition of Saskatchewan-based LuxSonic and its virtual imaging platform, designed for radiologists to remotely view and interpret diagnostic imaging to support faster diagnoses. It's the company's second project with Can Health.
These projects give companies like ours the opportunity to prove our technology in real-world settings, build trust with healthcare providers, and accelerate adoption across Canada.
Another company based in Nova Scotia called Virtual Hallway enables physicians to consult with specialists for advice, ensuring patients get the right care faster. The company says with so many people in Saskatchewan living in rural areas and nearly all specialists living in cities, it can be hard on families and healthcare providers.
Too often those providers are left without timely input from a specialist, and patients face long delays or long travel or both. Virtual Hallway was built to change that.
The director of Virtual Health Hub says improved telecommunications, AI, and robotics have led to a shift toward a virtual delivery of healthcare.
Since the pandemic, both the provider and the patient, that virtual care is a way of delivering healthcare. And what I'm particularly proud is that we are the leadership in the country here in Saskatchewan.
A permanent Virtual Health Hub location on Whitecap, Dakota Nation is expected to be complete in February of 2027. John Flatters, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's sailing community continues to grow, and sailors are always looking for new ways to give people a chance to ride the tide. Sierra D'Souza Butts has more on Regina's Sailing Club and its efforts to grow the sport here.
While traveling in Tahiti with her husband, Victoria Oppenlander came across a couple of sailors.
We ran into people sailing around the world, so we chatted with them, gave them a ride to their next spot, and it kind of piqued our interest.
Upon returning home to Saskatchewan, the two felt the wind in their own sails to learn the ropes.
It worked out that we were able to sign up for classes this summer, so that's what we're doing.
Beginners like Oppenlander found their chance to learn through the Regina Sailing Club. While making his way to lakes across the province, the instructor of the Saskatchewan Sailing Clubs Association's mobile sailing school says he loves to help people find their sea legs. Technically, lake legs in this case.
I really like teaching them how to sail, like right from the bare bones beginning, because they get in the boat and they don't even know how to, like, the boat steers at all, and then suddenly by the end of it, they're racing, right? It's super cool to see that progression from like zero to hero almost.
It's a little scary, it's fun, it's interesting. I like it.
Out on her first time with her father and brother, 12-year-old Haley Mickleborough says the activity was her dad's idea, but she hopped on board full sail.
I would recommend this because it's a big learning experience, and yeah, it was just really fun overall.
The Regina Sailing Club says even if you don't have your own boat or experience, that doesn't mean your hopes of hoisting the sails are sunk.
These courses are very important to the growth of our sport. It's not a very known sport in Saskatchewan, so anytime we have the opportunity to get new people involved and exposed, we'll take it.
Summers in Saskatchewan are so short, so this is a perfect opportunity to just get out and enjoy it.
A chance to harness Saskatchewan's strong winds without ending up on the rocks. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
A highly anticipated music video that mentions Saskatchewan has been released, but fans might be disappointed to find out no images of our province are featured in it. Chapel Roan's song The Subway dropped last night, with the music video coming out earlier today. The teaser for the video featured some footage of Saskatchewan that was shot by a Regina media company, as we told you earlier this week. A line in the song also jokes about moving to Saskatchewan. However, the province did not make the final cut, with the music video mostly showing scenes from a subway, as you might expect from a track called The Subway. Still ahead, Canada Post workers are voting on what the company calls its final offer, plus breaking down the impact of higher tariffs on Canada's economy as a whole. Breaking news this hour, unionized workers at Canada Post have rejected the company's latest offer. A majority of both rural and urban carriers, more than 68%, rejected the contract offers, which are said to include a 13% pay hike over 4 years. It would also add part-time workers, which Canada Post says are necessary for the Crown Corporation to stay afloat. The union, which represents 55,000 workers, says it will reach out to management to invite them back to the bargaining table. Returning to trade talk, U.S. President Donald Trump is boosting tariffs from 25% to 35% on some Canadian goods. CTV's Rachel Aiello takes a look at the reaction across the country.
Do you think the government should retaliate? Have you spoken to the premiers at all about these recent tariffs?
Federal ministers had little to say today when pressed on Canada's next steps.
The Prime Minister's trying to get the best deal he can for Canadians.
That wasn't the case when it came to provincial premiers.
We need to control what we can control. First and foremost, that is controlling the opportunities that we have in advancing our Canadian economies.
Or border town mayors.
Well, I think everything should be on the table. And, you know, two can play the game.
Retaliation wasn't mentioned in the Prime Minister's post-midnight response to the escalating trade war. In a statement, Mark Carney said the federal government is disappointed by the U.S. action and will act to protect Canadian jobs. He also took aim at Trump justifying the tariffs on the basis of the cross-border flow of fentanyl, but said this country will continue to negotiate with the U.S. while working to make Canadians their own best customers. The Canadian business community slamming Trump's justifications.
We know it's false. They know it's false. This is the pretext that's being used to try to defend these tariffs in the courts.
While there's relief that exemptions under the North American Free Trade Agreement remain, stakeholders want the revenue from Canada's countermeasures to start flowing to those on the front lines of the trade war.
It's right now all bad, not at the end of the rope, but pretty close to it.
Trade experts say while the current situation is not ideal, no deal is better than a bad deal.
A good deal for Canada is not just a baseline tariff with a USMCA exemption. It really is getting to the heart of the problem for us, which is those sectoral tariffs, those industry-specific tariffs like steel, like autos.
Carney's lead minister on the file is coming back from D.C. tonight without meeting with any new Americans today. But Dominic LeBlanc's office assures us he is keeping in contact with his counterpart, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
With all the different tariffs in effect, it's becoming difficult to keep track of, but the impacts are far-reaching. From the global markets to Canada's economy here at home, there are exemptions for some products, while certain sectors are getting harder hit than others. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin reports.
Touted as an escape hatch from some of the tariffs, CUSMA may shield some businesses, but how much? The deal signed in 2018 by Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. exempts a wide range of products from tariffs. Take grown and raised in Canada food products. They're covered by that free trade agreement.
If you look at some of the products that we export, those are unprocessed products, live animals, live hogs, live cattle, wheat, canola, those sorts of things. Those are pretty clearly and obviously Canadian.
And a big percentage, 86% of Canada's exports have the potential to qualify for that exemption. That's on paper, though. In practice, only nearly 40% of trade happened under CUSMA last year. Many exporters, particularly smaller businesses, have not filed the compliance paperwork.
And what I've been seeing is that more and more businesses are rushing to become CUSMA compliant, something that I have been criticizing for a long time, that in Canada we have that complacency, or shown this complacency, we have had this free trade for a long time.
And for sectors not covered under CUSMA, the trickle-down costs will also add up for consumers. Take the 50% slapped on aluminum.
Any canned drinks will increase per can between 3 and 5 cents, right? This is the net effect of cost on the producer of the canned drink. But by the time it's handed down to the tariff, it's 10, 15, 20 cents to the consumer,
Other sectors like steel, lumber, and automobiles have also taken a big hit, and the cost of things like appliances are likely to keep going up. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning against setting expectations too high after peace talks in Istanbul. Speaking today, Putin said that any disappointment is the result of excessive expectations. The statement comes as Putin faces increasing pressure from President Trump, who has threatened to impose sanctions on Russia if progress towards a peace deal doesn't happen before August 8th. President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, visited southern Gaza amid international outrage over starvation, aid shortages, and deadly chaos near aid distribution sites. Witkoff and Huckabee toured one of the privately run U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution sites. In a social media post, Witkoff wrote that the purpose of the visit was to give the president a clear understanding of the humanitarian situation and help craft a plan to deliver food and medical aid to people in Gaza. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister is insisting Canada is still blocking military export permits to Israel for any materials that could be used in Gaza. Anita Anand made the comments after a coalition of Canadian advocates for Palestinians issued a report identifying multiple shipments from Canada to Israel. That includes one identified as tanks and other armored fighting vehicles or parts of such vehicles. Anand called the report flawed. She claims the bullets identified by the Israel Tax Authority were actually paintball-style projectiles and cannot be used in combat. Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been moved from a federal prison in Florida to a prison camp in Texas. This comes as Maxwell's criminal case generates renewed public attention. Minimum security federal prison camps house inmates considered to be the lowest security risk. Maxwell will now be at the same camp as Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes and Jen Shaw of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Maxwell was convicted in 2021 of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Canadian wildfire smoke has ignited air quality alerts in the U.S. Midwest, making Chicago and Minneapolis among the most polluted major cities in the world today. This video shows smoke so thick in Chicago you can barely make out buildings. The smoke comes from here in Saskatchewan as well as Manitoba and eastern Alberta. Chicago was the most polluted city in the world for a few hours Thursday, thanks to Canadian wildfire smoke. Minneapolis was number 3, followed by Detroit. Coming up, we'll take you to the town of Mooseman, where a group of residents are after some national recognition through Communities in Bloom.
Hope you're enjoying the August long weekend. We are back on Tuesday when we'll have a conversation with the health minister with an update on rural stabilization.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
at the Real District. And real quick shout out to my BFF, Miss Melina. She made me a little friendship necklace, and it's fitting the vibe tonight here as it's vibrant, fun, and colorful. And it's starting to cool down just a little, but you wouldn't know it as we take a look at the temperatures. Taking a look outside through our Skycam, currently sitting at 28 degrees, but the humidity index level is making it feel more like 33 degrees right now. So temperatures are still feeling like we're in the low 30s, and that's going to continue as we head into the rest of the weekend. The winds have been actually picking up a little. They are sitting at close to 30 kilometers an hour, but gusting further up to close to about 45 kilometers an hour over the last few hours. On the radar satellite, you can see that we do have some heat warnings issued. Those are further north, just north of Saskatoon, but there is a slight chance we could see them start to seep down into central and southern Saskatchewan, just because we are seeing these temperatures that are well above average, and it's expected to stay this way into the rest of the weekend. As for what we can expect, well, I had a lovely lady ask me if there's rain on the way this weekend, and the answer is yes. And that rain most likely will be tonight, overnight, leaving us with mostly clear conditions for Saturday, and then more rain expected overnight Saturday night. And by Sunday, we can expect to see some of that precipitation by late afternoon. Now, of course, with these very high temperatures, there is more moisture in the air, which essentially leads to a slight chance of some severe weather like thunderstorms coming through the area. So that's something that you will want to keep an eye on as you continue on for your weekend. Those temperatures, though, like I said, staying above average as we continue into the rest of the weekend. And you can see right there by Sunday late afternoon, a little bit more rain expected. How much rain? Well, it's hard to say. As of right now that I've checked up to last I checked, anywhere between 15 to 20 millimeters in parts of southern Saskatchewan could be expected. We also know that systems can change quickly. We could have a little more or a little less than that. But one thing does remain, that most of your daytime temperatures and conditions will be very nice, warm, and sunny. In terms of temperatures, you can see heading into tonight, which is partially why we're also seeing those heat warnings, is that the lows are above average as well. Close to 16, actually some areas close to 20 degrees, but even taking a look at what those temperatures are like for daytime highs, in the 30s for the north, Saskatoon, North Battleford, 29 tomorrow. We're still going to be expecting our temperatures, even Saskatoon expecting to be 18 tonight. Similar story for the southwest, high 20s for our base temperatures, with the humidity feeling more into the 30s is what our temperatures are going to feel like. Folks are having a lot of fun here, okay? I'm just going to be honest. There's a lot of people around in this crowd. The southeast also seeing those temperatures close to 30 degrees. Again, with the humidity, those temperatures are going to feel more in the low to mid 30s. So keep that in mind. If you are going out to the fair, whether it's Saskatoon or Regina, have heat protection, hats, sunscreen, glasses, and make sure you're staying hydrated. Tonight, 15 degrees for our low. Tomorrow, 28 with a mix of sun and cloud. And that's kind of what we're going to be sitting at as far as the next couple of days for your long weekend. So 28 and a mix of sun and cloud Saturday, sunny, a mix of sun and cloud, and 27 on Sunday and Monday. Monday, though, is when we could expect to see that rain. And then by Tuesday, Regina and other parts of southern Saskatchewan could see anywhere between 5 to 10 millimeters of rain due to that system that's expected to come through. But then we'll see those temperatures get back into seasonal range Wednesday. A mix of sun and cloud, 27, 26 Thursday, and then mainly sunny to round out next week. 25 is the expected high. And just a quick note, Tuesday, Wednesday, we could see those winds gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour.
All right, that's good to know. How do the lines look down there, Sabine? I do have a couple of ride tickets left from last night that I should use up at some point. So what do you recommend?
If you show up tonight, I'm telling you right now, these lines are close to the gates at the entrance. So despite the heat that we had today, I'd love to ask how people were handling the heat. It's not stopping people from coming out tonight and taking in the fair. It's a beautiful night now, actually.
For sure, and like you mentioned earlier on in the show, a little bit of wind coming off of some of the rides as well. Hopefully help keep everybody nice and cool. Some misting stations, and I think there's also a water station too, if anybody's overheating at the fair. Thanks for this, Sabine.
That's right. You bet.
Well, the competitive spirit has taken over the town of Mooseman as the city represents the entire province for communities in bloom. CTV's Regina has the details on how the town hopes to bring their A game in the national rankings.
It was a busy week in Mooseman. Residents were encouraged to clean up their yards, pick up any garbage, and be kind to one another, as the town was expecting visitors.
We are here to evaluate the community for the contest that they've entered in Communities in Bloom.
Contrary to its name, the Communities in Bloom project isn't only about flowers.
We do have 6 categories that we evaluate communities on. So we have community appearance, tree management, heritage conservation, landscape, environmental action, and plant and floral displays. So we use those categories and they're evaluated on a matrix.
This year, Mooseman has won the provincial round,
which gave them the ability to enter the national contest this year. If they were to win nationally, if they wanted to, would have the ability to enter then an international contest for Communities in Bloom.
This is the second time the community has found success after making it to the national level in 2004.
And at that time, you might say the committee was about myself and 2 friends, and we competed for 3 years at the provincial level.
The judges spent 2 days in Mooseman, touring local businesses and landmarks.
They have shown us the entire town. I have to say, I don't know that I have not seen a square inch of this town at this point, but it's all been amazing and beautiful. They take a lot of pride in their community, and that's very evident.
The project brings the community together through friendly local competitions.
So people get involved in that, whether it's who can grow a tomato plant with the most tomatoes or who has the most unusual planters or whatever.
Beautifying your community inside and out is a simple way to show pride in where you live. Regina, CTV News, Yorkton.
Still ahead, a difficult road matchup for the Riders will break down the tale of the tape between the Riders and the Alouettes.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
It's no secret the Saskatchewan Roughriders have struggled in Montreal over the last few seasons, and they'll be looking to snap a winless streak there tomorrow that dates back to 2021.
Out of trouble, and it's a 2nd and goal. Alouettes need to find the end zone. Looking there, touchdown!
It's actually been so long since the Riders won in Montreal. Trevor Harris was still on the Owls, and despite that TD pass in relief of starter Matthew Schultz, the Riders did win that game 19-14. More recently, the Riders dropped both games to Montreal last season, meaning Corey Mace is still in the hunt for his first win over the Owls as head coach.
They're a good team, so I mean, no matter where you play, you know, you're always in for kind of a tough battle versus those guys. But specifically there, you know, it's always, in my recent memory, I don't remember, regardless of what team, you know, we were with, it always ends up being a tough place to play.
Kickoff in Montreal is set for 5 p.m. tomorrow on TSN. Changes to the lineup from last week. Sam Emelis, Lake Corte Moore, and Aubrey Miller Jr. are out, but Mitch Picton and Kosi Onyeka are back in. Canada's best hockey players will be gathering in Calgary later this month to prepare for the 2026 Olympics. Among the player invites, Saskatoon's Emily Clark. 92 players in total from Canada's men's, women's, and para-hockey teams have been invited to the national team's orientation camp. The three-day camp, August 26th to 28th in Calgary, but don't expect any on-ice action. Players are just getting walkthroughs and presentations along with team meetings. The 2026 Winter Olympics take place in Italy in February. When CTV News continues, a new study is showing that female pilots could perform better in high-stakes scenarios.
Welcome back from QCX down here at Regina's Real District. The clouds are starting to roll in and hide the sun, but that's not stopping these warm temperatures and won't stop as we take a look at your rural forecast, as that's a continued message as we head into tomorrow. A lot of sunshine expected, 30 degrees in, actually 31 expected in Hudson Bay. Many of these temperatures expected to reach close to 30, if not right into 30, like Meadow Lake 31 tomorrow, 29 for many areas, and then the closer we get to the southern border, we're going to see similar temperatures, 27 for Leader, Maple Creek, and for Broadview, Kenora 29, 25 for East End Cypress, a little bit more cloudy, cloud cover in Assiniboia with 27 is the expected high. There is a chance in the southwest we will see some precipitation come through in the form of rain, even a slight chance of a severe thunderstorm or two coming through the area. These warm temperatures continuing, though, as we take a closer look at Hepburn, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel. Hepburn is located about 45 kilometers north of Saskatoon. Tomorrow, the expected high is about 29, actually even 30 degrees. With the humidity, it's going to feel closer to 36 degrees tomorrow. Get out and enjoy the beautiful weather this long weekend. Just make sure you've got some sun protection with you.
Research is giving us new insight on women in aviation. A University of Waterloo study using technology to challenge gender biases. It found female pilots perform better under pressure. CTV's Heather Senerin reports.
Preksha Shah is in her happy place.
For me personally, I'm a very adrenaline junkie, so I love flying, and it's also just really cool.
While this is a high-fidelity flight simulator, the aviation student has been in the cockpit of the real deal, too.
The end goal, I definitely want to be like a commercial airline pilot.
Shah is one of 20 participants in a study at the University of Waterloo using the simulator.
We have data that challenges traditional assumptions in aviation these days, and that's kind of groundbreaking to be able to have this evidence to support the fact that, you know, women belong in this industry.
For the study, participants with the same experience wore eye-tracking glasses and completed standard flight tasks, but with a twist, an unexpected total engine failure.
I was immediately able to be like, okay, we've had an engine failure and the runway's right there. Now I just need to land.
As calmly and as safely as possible.
And then maneuver the plane to said space where they could land the plane and let the air traffic controllers know that there was a mayday, there's an emergency on board.
The lead author of the study says women may be better at keeping control and making decisions in stressful flight scenarios.
Female participants were able to manage that much better in these high-stress scenarios versus those male pilots who ended up having a little bit more error with respect to, say, things like the airspeed they were trying to control while coming down from this engine failure and safely landing the plane.
Highlighting the importance of looking beyond surface level indicators when measuring pilot performance.
Only 6 to 7% of airline pilots are women, and that's a tremendous challenge when you think about there not being enough pilots in the system, and how do we attract and retain a workforce to support the future.
The team hopes their findings will help shape what the industry looks for pilots of the future. Heather Centerin, CTV News, Waterloo.
It's today, some tariff uncertainty causing some ripple effects. TSX down about 240 points to 27,000, just above. The Dow Jones down 542 points to 43,588. Moving on to the Canadian dollar, that was up a little bit today, trading at 72.50 cents US. As for commodities, gold was up today, up about $73.55 to $3,363.48 an ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude was down about $1.93 per barrel to $67.33. Western Canadian Select crude also down today by about 78 cents to just over $56 a barrel. Gas prices per liter are staying steady from yesterday in Regina. The lowest you'll find is about $1.18.9. The most common gas price, though, around $1.39.9.
A few big Canadian companies have reported earnings results today, including Enbridge. Enbridge operates pipelines. It pulled in about $2.2 billion in its latest quarter, more than $30 million more than it made in the same quarter last year. The company CEO says he's optimistic about Ottawa wanting to advance energy projects. Auto parts supplier Magna beat expectations in its latest quarter, despite a 3% drop in sales. Tariffs have been a problem for Magna, raising costs, but the company says restructuring and spending less on capital has helped to offset that. On Thursday, Washington announced those new tariff rates, but it also sent out letters to pharmaceutical companies. The Trump administration is demanding they lower drug costs in the U.S. and increase costs in other countries. The White House says other nations have been freeloading off the U.S. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
All right, coming up tonight on CTV, we have an episode of Celebrity Jeopardy right after the show here, followed by Fear Thy Neighbor, then an episode of The Big Bang Theory and E-Talk. And then, of course, at 11:30, Angela Stewart will be back with your local headlines. Well, Canadians successfully knocked back a few cold ones on his way to setting a new world record.
Runner set, jog!
Ontario's Corey Belmore won his 5th straight Beer Mile World Classic, breaking his own world record. Belmore drank 4 beers and ran 4 laps in a time of 4 minutes and 27 seconds. And of course, the August long weekend is here, and while I don't think anyone will be running 4 laps and doing what he's doing here, if it sounds like something that's kind of in your plans this weekend, make sure you get a safe ride home and everything along those lines. A reminder for you as well, with the long weekend, there's no newscasts on Monday, so be aware of that. But we will be back Tuesday with all your local headlines, starting with CTV Morning Live, bright and early at 6 a.m. Thanks for watching. Have a great long weekend. Take care.